Um, Sir, I believe there is some technical issue with that. So before during, like without during the session, I request, like it's my privilege to introduce Ankit Jam sir. Mr. Ankit Jam is a senior associate director, capability development at KPMG, advisor to BRICS Chambers of Commerce for Young Leaders. He is an author of Lost and Found at 35 and also the founder of social initiative Aao Khilai and also running now Aao Khilai Corona Helpline. Mr. Ankit is an HR leader with 13 plus years of experience across financial and professional services. He started his career with a business role, which required him to market training solutions to various clients in India. His current areas of focus are future skill, leadership journey, building skills for an inclusive organization, and mental health. Now, I request Mr. Ankit sir for the session. Sir, please.
Thank
Ankit sir, your mic is mute.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir, please. Thank you.
Okay. A quick check. Are you guys able to hear me? Can you guys see me? No technology issues. Is everything clear? A quick check would be really helpful. Type in a yes if you can see me and hear me. Wonderful.
Yes, sir, we all can see.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, first things first, thank you for joining on a Monday morning. And thank you for this opportunity for me be able to reach out to all of you and talk about this fantastic topic on innovation and entrepreneurial culture. Um, I've had a long-lasting relationship with the college now, and of course, Dr. Pandey. He's always been generous enough to place opportunities and connect the um, ever-increasing gap between academia and the industry. And I think this kind of a session holds relevance for both of us. I get to know what people are thinking and what they want, and for all of you, where you get to know what the industry wants. So that's the first thing. Thank you for the introduction as well. I hope I deserve all the praise. What I also do for living is I also run my own practice, which helps people deal with mental disorders, and that's one of the additional things which I do. And something like a something like a topic on innovation and entrepreneurial culture is extremely close to my heart because at a very young age I started an NGO, which was nothing less than an innovative entrepreneurial social enterprise, and I had to build it up from scratch. So I've had a journey of being a social entrepreneur myself. I look after my own practice. So that's also an entrepreneurial journey, and becoming an author is also a kind of an innovative or entrepreneurial journey. So when Dr. Pandit spoke to me about these topics, and he said these topics are my life, they've been part of me. They've been absolutely in the DNA of me, and some of my ventures would not have survived if they weren't innovative, and they would not have survived if I wouldn't have displayed the entrepreneurial ability. So it's completely my honor to address all of you and share my experiences and the larger wisdom around it. The 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 format of the session is going to be, I'm going to be talking for about 35 to 40 minutes, sharing my viewpoints, certain best practices, what's happening in around the country and the globe at the business fraternity. What is it that people can do to become more innovative psychologically? And then we will open the next 15 to 20 minutes uh, for question and answers, whatever you might want to like to ask. I understand there are 422 people, so I'm expecting at least 40 questions. So I'll try and bake in more time for question and answers, chat suggestions, and then restrict now what I have to say for 30 35. And I hope that all of you will be up and alive listening to me. I try my best to keep people up so that they don't sleep in Zoom. And I understand that everyone's gone through a overload of Zoom, but let's put up a smile and hope that something good comes out of it. So here we are. I understand this will have a mix of faculties and a mix of students. So I'm guaranteeing you that the word innovation and the word entrepreneurship has a lot to offer to everyone. So here is the starting point of the journey of being innovative and entrepreneur. You know, accept it or deny it. The first time ever a human being is innovative or is enterprising is not in his youth, is also not when he starts to work, is also not when he starts a business. Absolutely not. It's childhood. Accept or leave it. The most innovative ideas, the most creative pursuits, almost on a second basis, are produced and generated by a child's brain. Why? Because psychologically and scientifically, a child's development on daily basis and every minute new synapses and new neurons are being created in the brain, and hence there are new ideas, weird ways of breaking things, weird ways of keeping things, weird and different ways of playing with toys. They are being generated on almost on daily basis. That's number one. A child also exactly knows what is the entrepreneurial mindset, which means immersing himself or herself into the complete game, starting something from scratch, breaking it, and then starting again, sometimes getting bored, sometimes getting bored and bogged down by the monotony and wanting to start something new. Now, if you were to take a pause, this is exactly the predicament of all business owners, all startups. And the age group of 3 to 7 years, they master creativity and entrepreneurial ability. But let me give you a dirty and a dark side to this journey. As we grow up, we hit our teens, and the teens becomes mature, and we become adulthood. In that growing up year, people lose the touch on being naturally creative. People lose the touch to be on enterprising. People lose the touch in order to take risks. And that's exactly where the problem is. Unfortunately, what happens is something which was so natural to our nature, now when you hit 28, 25, 30, and 35, you need to learn it. You need to be taught. You're told that you need to think out of the box. You are artificially injected by books and by models and by structures to do things differently and to think differently. Take a pause and see how the irony of life shapes up. So I tell people that if you have to be innovative and if you have to have an entrepreneurial spirit, you need to go to kids, learn from them how they are, come back into your life and apply that same principle with a sense of maturity. So that's how the takeoff point is. Unfortunately, the the maturity and the adulthood of life has created and positioned innovation and entrepreneurial abilities as a mature concept. But a large part of becoming enterprising and a large part of becoming innovative is going back to childhood. The state of being creative is, मेरे को आइडिया आया, मेरे को खुशी मिली, मेरे को अभी एग्जीक्यूट करना है. कौन करता है? बच्चा करता है. The ability to be enterprising is, let me see how can I pull this off. Let me run in 5 different directions, speak to 3 different people, and then put people together. Why waste time? कल क्यों करूं? आज ही करूंगा. And that is exactly what children do that brilliantly. Now, ask yourself, if you had an idea, if you've been wanting to start something on your own, start writing, start content creation, start a podcast. When should I do it? How should I do it? Will I need money? Will I do tomorrow? I'll do next year. As good as small as losing weight, becoming fit, uh, bringing some change in our lives, we learn the art of procrastination. And that's exactly why, over the years, as you see, when people keep growing up, our intellect, our knowledge increases, but our ability to be innovative and enterprising and start new things decreases. And then comes a point where an organization, where a owner or a sole proprietor or a promoter of an organization will nudge you, push you, force you to be innovative. And sometimes people are innovative, sometimes they aren't, because that's how they are built. So always keep in mind that when somebody asks you to be innovative and enterprising, it's the very nature of human beings. And I'm not joking. You take the history of how civilizations and how we've evolved back to Homo sapiens and Homo erectus. With every few years, the need for survival ensured that our ancestors have reinvented themselves by becoming more entrepreneurial in nature, whether it be by inventing fire, whether it be by inventing how to cook food, or by taming wild animals, but something or the other we learned for survival. So, a large part of innovation at this point of time and a large part of becoming enterprising at this point of time, ladies and gentlemen, is about survival. We are no less than Homo sapiens because we belong to a world which we do not understand. We belong to a world which is changing very rapidly. We belong to a world where we are changing very rapidly. We belong to a world where nobody's predicted what's going to happen. ये चारों कंडीशंस वैलिड थी होमो सेपियंस के लिए. उनको नहीं पता था उनकी दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है, उनको नहीं पता था उनके आसपास क्या है, उनको सिर्फ सर्वाइवल पता था. खतरा खुद से बड़ा हो तो भाग जाना है, खतरा खुद से छोटा हो तो उससे लड़ लेना है. हमको भी यही पता है. कोविड टर्न्ड आउट टू बी बिगर देन अस, तो हम घर में भाग गए. जो जो खतरा खुद से छोटा था उससे हम लड़ना शुरू कर दिए. दिस ईयर and the last few years and the next coming few years are going to be the years of survival. At some point of time in the history, somebody said survival of the fittest. At this point of time, I'm going to tell you it is going to be survival of the creativitest, if there is a word in English. But people who are not enterprising and people who are not going to be innovative with their problems and problem statements, they will perish mentally, psychologically, financially, economically. And there are too many examples around us. Third, in some pockets, creativity and or innovation is also linked to age group, and it's a concept which I disagree with. It's a concept which we must debate. At this point of a time, you have a 80-year-old lady who's starting up her own food venture in lockdown. At this point of a time, you have stories on internet where Babaji Dhaba has started his own restaurant. That also turned out to be creativity and enterprising ability. अब वो पेट की भूख से निकले या दिमाग की आग से निकले, it doesn't matter. Till the time there is creativity, innovation, and enterprise. There is also somebody who's become the uh, uh, maximum revenue earner using YouTube, and he's only 10 years and 12 years of age. So you realize that the spread of business is not restricted to कि आप 25 साल के हैं तो ही आप कर सकते हैं, 30 साल के हैं तो ही आप कर सकते हैं. अगर लुधियाना में बैठ के कोई दादी अम्मा 85 साल के आलू पराठे बना के बेच सकती है and she's built a 50 crore business on that, then we really can't say that innovation and enterprising ability uh, needs to have an age. The point is, you need to have a problem statement, you need to have a plan, you need to have a purpose behind it. And then all of that should be enough to fire you. हर दिन जिंदगी जिंदगी जीने की अगर एक वजह मिलती है और आप सुबह आंख खोलते हैं ये सोच के कि आज मैं ये हासिल करूंगा, आज मैं इस चीज से जूझूंगा, बिकॉज या तो मुझे ये खाना देगी या तो मुझे ये नाम देगी, whatsoever. But that is exactly the day and age we are living in. If people are not hungry and if people are not going through that longing to do something new, irrespective of their age, they will either emotionally fall to depression, or economically their skill sets would be redundant and out of the market. And that's a thing which we all have to understand. Now, now, while we speak about innovation and entrepreneurial ability, let me narrate a story here and tell you that how are organizations and corporates, how is the business environment, which is where the reality of the matter is shaping up for innovation, creativity, and enterprise ability. Over the last 10 to 15 years, organizations have realized that लोगों को नौकरियां नहीं करनी है. People just don't want to do a 9 to 5 job. People want more from their life. We've had so many organizations where people have resigned, they've dropped out, they've started their own fundings, they started their own startups, they wanted to do their own business. So the corporate world realized that there is this need in people to start their own business. Hence, a concept called as intrapreneurs started to exist in organizations, and a lot of organizations like Unilever, Procter and Gamble, KPMG, and 3M is a great organization. They've believed in the concept of entrepreneurs. So, what is the concept of entrepreneurs? It basically means that 10 to 20% of your time in an organization will only go into ideation. Okay, Telsa does that, Jack Ma does that, Netflix does that, where people are brought together only to ideate on different problems and different solutions. And if there is a plan or strategy or a business proposal which comes out of it, then they get the right kind of funding by the same organization, and that's how products are formed. Now, most of you would not have even an idea, but I'm going to ask this question and hopefully you'll remember this. मेरे ख्याल से जिंदगी में सबने पोस्ट इट देखे हैं. सबको पता है पोस्ट इट क्या होता है? वो येलो कलर का एक पर्ची होती है, चिट होती है, which you can stick it somewhere, is gluey in nature, but it's not too sticky. If all of you have seen a post-it, yes, you could quickly type a yes, so I would know that people have seen post-its. Those who haven't can Google buy from somewhere. It's very easily available. Okay, most people have seen a post-it. Perfect. Now let me share a story behind post-it. Post-it actually, yes, sticky notes. It's also right, Ishan. It's also called as sticky notes. Post-it actually were created by a chemist in the laboratory of an organization uh, which is called as 3M, and he was designing an adhesive. जैसे फेविकॉल एडिसिव है, ग्लू एडिसिव है, फेविक्विक एडिसिव है, वो एक एडिसिव डिजाइन कर रहा था. एंड पोस्ट-इट के पीछे जो ग्लू है, दैट एक्चुअली is a mistake. He wasn't designing that glue. He wanted his glue to be more sticky. He wanted his glue to be more thick. But he ended up making a mistake. एक ऐसी glue जो पूरी चिपके लेकिन पूरी ना चिपके. And they couldn't figure out the usage of that. And it was because of the entrepreneurial principle where they honored every idea. They didn't consider any idea to be waste. There was no wastage. They said that this is actually a brilliant idea. इसको अगर हम पेपर पे लगाते हैं और लोगों को बेचते हैं तो लोग इसको स्टिकी नोट्स की तरह यूज कर सकते हैं. So many years back, because of Rick Fury, uh, post-its were created, invented, or discovered. And at this point of time, for all of you to know, because of that creative, enterprising pursuit, trying something new which hasn't happened before, and at times failing, Post-it is one of the highest selling products of 3M. And 3M sells about 30,000, more than 30,000 products. Sticky note से लेकर, tape से लेकर, windshield, automotive products, you name it, and they will have a product for your household and for an airplane. And 3M post-its are one of the most successful, highest selling products. Why am I sharing this story with you? The reason is because the tendency to operate under boundaries, the tendency to operate within the limitations, the tendency to only think as much, and at times the tendency that ये मेरा काम नहीं है, is not my problem. uh, the tendency to ये 5 बज गए मैं घर जा रहा हूँ, all of that is not good for survival. All of that is not good for enterprising ability. All the students present here, I'm going to tell you directly that when you step out, it's going to be a competitive market. The race is being run, and the race is being, the speed of the race is increasing day by day. Which is why at some point of time, World Economic Forum in one of the conferences said that the world doesn't belong to people who are intelligent. The world belongs to people who are innovative and enterprising, who have the abilities to start things, to fail, to start again, to fail. People who have ability to fall in love with problems and come out with solutions which are inventive, imaginative, and innovative. And that's what World Economic Forum said, that organizations or individuals, doesn't matter who you are, will only survive if they have a creativity quotient, if they have an enterprising ability. One of the biggest challenges of a multinational, working in multinational, will be that people will tell you that one has to learn to take accountability. Now, what is accountability? Accountability and enterprising ability, they go hand in hand. ये फेल हुआ तो मेरे सर पे, ये पास हुआ तो मेरे सर पे. That ability to ensure that your client's problem is actually your problem is accountability. So when you think ideas, when you think business, you have to think of the other person. And that's exactly what I'm pointing and taking you to. Most people think that business running or enterprising is a cutthroat, cold blooded area. But I am offering you a different advice that business and providing solutions, creating business proposition is the most empathetic job in the world. You can't devise a solution for my problem till the time you understand my problem. To understand my problem, you'll have to understand my life. How do I live? What do I like? When do I get up? And that's how you devise problem. And when you start understanding me, that's exactly what empathy is. Most of the modern day innovative creative design methodologies such as design thinking itself is built on empathies. And here is an additional ignored sideline factor of running business or enterprises. People think enterprise running is about sourcing money, investing money, and making money. And that was the understanding with which the business community has run. This is absolutely incorrect. One of the new skills of starting a business, running a business, your idea, your shop, is about understanding the client and his problems in his life. Consider yourself to be a doctor. A doctor has to first get the assessment of what the problem is in your body. Absolutely right. The precise and the more accurate his judgment and his analysis about your problem, the better will be the treatment. A business enterprise owner is actually playing the role of a doctor for society, for community, for people, for different clients. And if you're not playing that role, let me tell you upfront, you're missing the pulse of your patients. And when you miss pulse of your patients, wrong surgeries get happen, people die, massacres happen, you lose reputation. And that's exactly what is happening in the stock market for organizations who haven't been able to crack the code of purposeful enterprise, purposeful innovation. Now, let's take a pause because I've just introduced a new concept for all of you. Uh, if you see at this point of time, every kind of a business is getting tested in the stock market. In the last 1 year or so, let me give you a analysis of how stock markets have been. Some shares and some equities in New York Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, Delhi Stock Exchange, from a money point of view, share value point of view, have gone up and have gone down, right? No big deal there. But you must interrogate the businesses which have gone down, not that they weren't innovative, not that they weren't stable. No, they lacked purpose in their innovation. They lack the sensibility of respecting clients, communities, environment, ecosystem, transparency, shareholder value. And you must understand these terminologies. Now, here is a very micro example to understand what has happened. I see two names here. One is Rahul and one is Vikash. So Rahul and Vikash, I'm just going to take an example basis, your story, for for all of us to understand how innovation and entrepreneurial ability, when linked with purpose, adds to shareholder value and you make more money. Rahul has a business which takes care of environment. Let's say Rahul has a factory and Rahul has monitored his waste. राहुल has also ensured that कि ये environment के ऊपर, पेड़ पौधों के ऊपर, पक्षियों के ऊपर कोई नुकसान ना हो. He's taken all environmental clearance. Rahul as a person has also displayed his books of accounts to people. His transparency is absolutely correct and great. And then he goes into the market and becomes a listed organization. Okay. या मान के चलो कि राहुल पैसे मांगने जाता है बैंक से, प्राइवेट इक्विटी से, या वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट से. On the other hand, Vikash has a brilliant idea, excellent idea. He has a great market standing. वो 5 साल में 100 करोड़ यूनिकॉर्न बनाने के लिए planning दिखा सकता है, but he hasn't thought about environment, he hasn't thought about our community, he hasn't thought about society, he hasn't thought about LGBTQ rights, he hasn't thought about how his organization will be. He's only making money. अगर ये 2010 होता तो विकास को ज्यादा पैसा मिलता, but at this point of a time राहुल को पैसा मिलेगा along with the right kind of guidance to make money. You know why? Because at this point of time, even if it's innovation, creativity, or enterprising ability, it needs to get linked with purpose. And now, if today Rahul's organization was listed on the stock market during COVID, Rahul makes more money because shareholders' wealth is which is basically part of goodwill, and the trust which Rahul and his organization enjoys is much more than Rahul. क्यों? क्योंकि राहुल को देख के लोगों को लगता है कि ये आदमी सेंसिटिव है, सेंसिबल है, रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, सबका ध्यान लेकर चलता है, उसके बाद पैसा कमाता है. Vikash, his stock markets will fall in the market, and this is hypothetical. I hope both of you do well. But Vikash, his stock prices will fall in the COVID scenario, because in COVID scenario, people didn't only need people who were making money. People needed people who were taking care of the society. See, this is why Wipro's share has done well. Tata's have done well. This is why, to a large extent, all the first generation entrepreneurs have done well. And this is why Mark Zuckerberg says anything on the media which is irresponsible, and his share prices fall, because the market volatility responds to the person's way of running a business. The point I'm trying to make is, when you think about innovation and enterprise, at this point of time, innovation and enterprise needs to have purpose. Meaningfulness is a component. Now coming back to the real world, if tomorrow you have a idea, a startup idea, let's say let's say for example, I saw a social media post by your college preparing some young guys to become dentists, and Dr. Pandey had put this post to invite admissions for, I think, the dentistry part of your college. It's a fantastic initiative. Now if somebody passes out from your college and wants to raise funds to start their own clinic, they will be posed with these questions: how socially sensitive you are, do you follow the social norms, how sensitive you are towards the community, and basis that I will be able to give you fund. Every startup at this point of time is going through what is called as ESG score. uh, if you are a startup and you want to raise funds and you go to a venture capitalist, basically किसी से भी पैसा मांगने जाते हैं तो वो आपको आपसे ESG score पूछेगा. What is an ESG score? ESG score is a score which is based on a 25 item checklist, which means carbon emissions. Are you environmental friendly? Are you people friendly? Are you homosexual friendly? Do you have the right kind of policies? Are you printing your books of accounts? Environment, social, and governance. Every business model, every idea which is not built on responsibility towards environment, social, and governance does not get the right kind of funding, does not get funding. So all the startups at this point of time are also thinking, देख एक अच्छा आइडिया है, उससे पैसा नहीं मिलेगा. आप मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन दिखा सकते हो कि देखो 5,000 करोड़ की मार्केट है, ठीक है, वो 5,000 करोड़ की मार्केट में से हमारा प्लान है 500 करोड़ कैप्चर करने का, उससे भी पैसा नहीं मिलेगा. But you will have to show that how inclusive you are, how are you creating equal opportunities for different sections of the society. If there is an impact on the environment, what is the impact? How do you plan to use the corporate social responsibility funding to uplift the society? It's complete. The entire package has to come together. And that is so very important to understand at this point of time, because you can't just be innovative and creative and yet make money. This is where the current picture at this point of time is. Uh, Now, very quickly, let's also start talking about how is it that, irrespective of your age, you can get to the point of innovation and develop an enterprising ability. And then I'll try and close it by my own personal journey. So, and here is where, with all humility, I'll try and talk about my book. I wrote my first book, which was Lost and Found at 35. I've recently published my second book. And the interesting part of The first book, which was Lost and Found at 35, was that it's built on 4 P's. And those 4 P's are exactly what you need to know if you want to start a business, if you want to pursue a passion, or if you want to start an enterprise and go seek funding for anyone. Those 4 P's actually will define and tell you that why do startups fail. At this point of time, if you Google the failure rate of startups, the Google will tell you that 9 out of startups fail. 9 out of 10 startups fail. 90% is the failure ratio. Only 10% of the startups actually become unicorn. They become organic. And I think less than 5% they start making money after 10 years. And if that's the case, and look around, there is an infatuation and love affair with all the startups we have around. Every fifth person actually wants to do a startup in a business, because every fifth person has an idea. And that's exactly where the problem starts and problem ends. So, in the next few minutes, hear me out. I'm going to give you a formula to build an organization, to sustain an organization, and to ensure that there is a purpose attached to it. And the formula for me still is absolutely 4 P's. First, if you have a creative idea, innovation, if you want to do something, then you will have to identify that if you're passionate about it or not. Does it excite you? Does it give you sleepless nights continuously? ऐसा नहीं है कि आज एक आइडिया आया, आज एक्साइटमेंट आया, कल उठे और कल वो एक्साइटमेंट नहीं है. If the excitement's not there, then you have a problem, because the idea was just an infatuation. Sometimes ideas stay with you. Sometimes you fall in love with the problem. Like I fell in love with the problem. My problem and my love for the problem was that people around me are going through depression and poor quality of life, and all my life I've studied psychology. My problem was, how do I ensure that whatever I've learned in psychology is given to people in the right kind of format? That was my problem statements, hence my books were created. So you have to fall in love with the problem, something which is so close to your heart, something which is who you are, something which is part of your value system. And जरूरी नहीं है कि आज ही जवाब आए, जरूरी नहीं है कि instantly आए. I got my answer in when I was 32, 33, 34, which means I waited for 30 odd years, and उसमें से 20 साल होशो आवाज के थे, where I did nothing. But I managed the restlessness, I managed the anxiety, I managed the void of not being able to do anything, and yet kept hunting on. Sometimes it's a long walk, but you have to figure out what are you passionate about. It could be industry, it could be space, it could be idea, it could be a solution, it could be a problem, and then continue to read and become expert in that. That's the first part. Learn to identify your passion areas, because when innovation comes out from a passion area, it is absolutely thorough, it is clear, and it is gratifying. So, first P is, if you're not passionate about something, and even if somebody offers you an opportunity to become a co-founder, deny that idea. Never become or start a business because you think business से मुझे पैसा मिलेगा, नाम मिलेगा, तरक्की मिलेगी. कभी नहीं. You will end up failing if you are not in sync with the idea. Like I got, at some point of time, I got an opportunity with an organization, a very senior role, but the organization was selling alcohol. Now, not that I don't drink alcohol. I'm a very rare occasional drinker, but a part of me didn't find purpose in working for an organization which sells alcohol. Very personal, very personal. Okay. A part of me finds purpose in consulting, because we make organizations better, we make systems better. I work for the audit business, and part of me finds purpose there because we make the environment financially secure. And that's the purpose I want to relate to. So it's very important to ask yourself, ki is activity say, is idea say, is there a sense of belonging which I have? Number one. Number two, let me contradict that passion is not enough. And this goes for all the UG and the PG, BCA, BBA batches. As a friend, as an elder brother, I will tell you that on daily basis, you will have 5 ideas. Sometimes you will jump with joy. Sometimes you will pursue something for 2 days and then forget it. Sometimes you will bubble and be overpopulated by ideas. But let me tell you, idea is not enough. Passion is not enough. Passion is like पहली नजर में पहला प्यार जो अगले दिन खत्म हो जाता है. The problem is that if you are not pursuing your passion with discipline, that's exactly where the problem is. A lot of people around me started their business in 3 years, wrapped up, shut shops, and they didn't know what to do. A lot of people around me were excellent with ideas. They gave me brilliant ideas, but never got to start. At, at this point of time, also, dear friends, almost every 2 days, one person calls me and tells me that मुझे भी किताब लिखनी है, मुझे भी ब्लॉगिंग करना है, मुझे वीडियोस बनाना है, व्लॉग्स बनाना है, लेकिन मैं कर नहीं पा रहा हूँ, मुझसे हो नहीं पा रहा है, मैं कैसे करूँ? या 2 दिन करके छोड़ दिया. Discipline is the problem because people don't pursue their ideas. So many of you have been good with singing and dancing and creativity and writing and gardening and cooking, take hobbies and interest, but we haven't pursued them. Some people automatically have a business mind. Some people know how business models have to be created. Some people are too good with cost optimization. Some people are too good with communication skills and relationship building, but they haven't equated that idea and linked that idea or a skill to a problem statement of the society, of the world, of your college, of your surrounding. हमने किया ही नहीं है वो. So when you look at the second P, discipline's most important. You have to pursue your idea for a very long period of time for you to become aware of the fact कि ये जिंदगी में जी सकता हूँ और इस जिंदगी से वैल्यू आती है. 2 दिन, 3 दिन, 4 दिन, एक महीना ना. कुछ लोग चार चार शौक शुरू करके छोड़ देते हैं, आधे में छोड़ देते हैं. पीपल आर इनकंसिस्टेंट एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम एंड देन व्हेन दे हिट 30 35 दे थिंक यार हम जिंदगी में कर क्या सकते थे, हमको जिंदगी में करना क्या था. बिकॉज you've done so many things half baked, you do not have a immersive experience. Somebody once told me that एक आइडिया को परस्यू करना एक साधना की तरह है, एक तपस्या की तरह है. आप तब तक करते जब तक आप वो आइडिया नहीं बन जाते हो. आपके अंदर से वो डुअलिटी की ये मैं हूं और ये मेरा आइडिया है, ये खत्म होनी चाहिए. यू शुड बी द बुक, यू शुड बी दैट सॉन्ग, यू शुड बी दैट डांस. And that is what tapasya does to you. And tapasya is not 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days. Sometimes it's years. You have to give it yourself. So those who do not pursue that idea, they die at the passion stage. And when passion dies, and this part, listen to me very carefully, when passion dies, you cry. And sometimes you cry for the rest of your life because you will meet a lot of 40 years old and 50 years old who will say कि जब मैं जवान था तो मैं जिंदगी में ये करना चाहता था, नहीं किया. बट समटाइम्स यू ऑल्सो सी कि एक 50 साल का आदमी मॉडलिंग कर रहा है क्योंकि वो जिंदगी में कभी मॉडलिंग करना चाहता था और वो जिंदगी में अब अपना पैशन परस्यू कर रहा है. द डेप्थ ऑफ द पैशन is the most uncomprehendable and the most difficult death on the planet. So if it dies because you don't pursue, it will leave you with scars and wounds and frustration and irritation. So please accept my request when I say that pursuing the idea, turning it, turning that idea into a reality is more important than having an idea. Okay. The third P here is process. What does process mean? Process mean that, for example, you have an idea to start, let's say, and like a friend had an idea to start an online poetry portal. So when you order meat, and this is the friend is basically running a startup organization. It's called Zapfresh, and they wanted to organize the poultry industry, which is the meat industry. That can you order meat online? So he had no idea about the meat industry, but he was passionate about the meat industry for whatever reason. He saw that लोगों का भला होगा, the margins बढ़ेंगे, and I can sustainably add value using technology. So उसका passion था, उसने pursue किया, but the problem was he had no idea about the meat industry, and that's where the process is. Get that idea, learn about that space, read, research, industry के बारे में knowledge लो, practice करो. The process part of it is learning the art of doing or enabling what you want to do. If you have an idea, it could be singing, dancing, running a business, Opening up a grocery shop, opening up a mall doesn't matter. But the process part of it is everything can be learned, everything needs to be experienced. If you have an excellent passion, which is just a theoretical idea, आप उसको परस्यू करने निकल पड़ते हैं, आपकी अपनी लर्निंग होती है, बट देन यू गेट स्टक एट अ डेड एंड कि इससे ज्यादा इट्स लाइक गिटार अपने आप को कितना सिखाओगे. एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ अ टाइम यू नीड टू बी taught by a person who knows more than you, and that's where the process comes. So you go back to the idea and then try and see कि यार ये होता कैसे है, इसका साइंस कैसा है, इसका ये चलता कैसे है. You know, workout is also a great example. You can get into the gym and start lifting weights, and sooner or later you'll get it. But कुछ चीजें गलत सीखोगे, कुछ चीजें सही सीखोगे. The process part of the P tells you that have you learned it? Yes, you can learn it through your experiences, but have you learned it officially? And it doesn't mean degree, diplomas, certificates. No, it means consciously learning it. It means the learning the trick to crack what it takes to be successful. So when I was writing books, the process for me is to read different authors now with the mindset of understanding their writing style. The process for me was to continue to write differently and then reviewing my own work. The process for me was seeking feedback from people that ये कैसा लिखा है मुझे criticize करके बताइए so that I can improve. If I don't do all of that, I like writing, I'm writing every day, then I don't improve. And this is exactly where startups are. They are committing the same mistakes. Some business enterprises are still committing the same mistakes. One part of entrepreneurial ability is quick correction, is agility, is quickly failing and quickly getting up and learning from the mistakes and correcting the mistakes, whether it be financial, whether it be system, whether it be process, whether it be business. And sometimes for that, you have to go outside to the client and then come back and ask what can be corrected. Now, passion, pursue, process. Once you cross all these three, you get to the end point of it. The end point is called purpose. Most 22-year-old, 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds have a problem with organizations, have a problem with their life that हमारी जिंदगी का purpose क्या है. And this generation demands for purpose more than anything. You know why? Because our families, our parents, they were too busy working, making the ends meet, giving us a livelihood, and the disposable incomes weren't high. So they really couldn't think about purpose. तो अगर उनको बैंक की नौकरी में पर्पस नहीं भी मिला तो उनको रोजगार मिलती थी, उनको रिश्ते और किश्ते संभालनी होती थी. दैट्स हाउ आई एक्सप्लेन इट टू पीपल. बट kids who are born after 2000, kids who are born after 1990, their disposable incomes were high. इंडिया की इकोनॉमी अच्छी हो चुकी थी, आपके माँ बाप काफी पैसा कमा चुके थे इंशाल्लाह. Your lifestyle was stable. Mobile phones had been made more cheaper. The luxuries of the world, from a five-star hotel to a travel to an aircraft, all of that had been made affordable, and people could live the life which your parents couldn't. Hence, uh, हर एक उस चीज के लिए जहां पे जद्दोजहद लगती थी अब वहां नहीं लगती. What does that do? That gives us so many things in a short span of time that the mind starts to think कि अब जिंदगी के मायने क्या हैं. And that's exactly why most millennials are starting to think what is the purpose of life. कि मुझे इस काम में मतलब नहीं दिखता है, ग्रोथ नहीं दिखती है, इस काम में मजा नहीं आता है, पर्पस नहीं आता है. And that's what I want to tell people, that when you're thinking about an idea, think about an idea from the problem point of view. Any idea, any business idea at least, which you want to establish into an enterprise, you need to be aware of the fact कि इससे मेरी target audience को मिलेगा क्या. And that is exactly where your purpose number one should come from, right? That's layer one of purpose. Any student community, any entrepreneurial insight at any age, if you are not able to understand the problem it addresses, that idea will never translate into a business model. Okay, so आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि ये प्रॉब्लम कहाँ, किस प्रॉब्लम का सोल्यूशन मैं देने जा रहा हूँ. अगर मैं कोई प्रोसेस ऑटोमेट कर रहा हूँ, .com कंपनी बना रहा हूँ, ऑनलाइन पोर्टल क्रिएट कर रहा हूँ, या फिजिकल स्टोर क्रिएट कर रहा हूँ, देन व्हाट इज माय प्रोपोजिशन. ये किस चीज के लिए जाना जाएगा, ये जिंदगी में, लोगों की जिंदगी में क्या सहूलियत लेकर आएगा. दैट्स द बेसिक कॉमन सेंसिकल क्वेश्चन, which is why sometimes you have to come out of the love of the idea which you have, and then look at it from a devil's advocate, that क्या होगा इससे, अगर कुछ नहीं हुआ तो कैसे बिकेगा, क्यों लेंगे लोग, एंड आपको लगता है इसलिए लेंगे, या फिर जेन्युइनली लोगों की प्रॉब्लम में जिंदगी जिंदगी की प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करता है, विच इज वेयर योर एम्पथी एंड पल्स of how the market is has to be so sharp. That's the layer one of purpose. The layer two of purpose, which comes after many years of continuing innovation and enterprise, is the ability to offer and contribute to the larger community society. अब वो आपका कहीं से भी आ सकता है, वो आपका चैरिटी से आ सकता है, वो आप जिस तरीके से बिजनेस रन करते हैं उस तरीके से आ सकता है. समटाइम्स पर्पस इज itself that my business model will help people and I'm going to run the business, create employment for people in the most righteous fashion possible. That purpose is very 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 personal to everyone. उसका कोई मैथमेटिकल कैलकुलेशन नहीं है, वो कभी आसमान चीर के कोई आवाज आपके कान में नहीं बोलेगी दैट ये आपकी जिंदगी का मकसद है. एब्सोल्युटली नो. I tell people that what you end up doing for more than 15 years of your life will ultimately give you a sense of purpose in life. I have been teaching and training and ideating for more than 15 years now. So that has become my purpose. Hence, I do it passionately. Sometimes when people call me and say that I read your book and I saw your lecture and then my lives began to change, I think that's the moment I tell myself, was zindagi ka yahi maqsad tha. Sometimes when people have called me that I've read Lost and Found and उस पेज पे एक चीज लिखी थी और वो एक चीज ने मेरी जिंदगी बदलने की शुरुआत कर दी, मेरी जिंदगी का शायद वही पर्पस था. बट वन हैज टू अप्रिशिएट दैट 2 साल काम करके या 20 साल सरवाइव करके और 22 साल के आप हैं, आपको अचानक से पर्पस मिल जाए, वो नहीं होगा. You should ask the professors and teachers who've been doing this. If Dr. Pandey has been doing this for 25, 30 years, his purpose of getting up every day from bed comes from the fact that he's going to create future of India. He comes from the fact that an institution needs to be created. People need to give the right kind of experience so that he's able to put people outside in the market. His ability to teach people comes from the fact that A, he enjoys teaching and he knows that his teachings will be implemented and sometimes will create life. और वही सबका हाल है. अब वो जरूरी नहीं है कि एक प्रोफेसर की जॉब का हायर पर्पस है और एक चौकीदार की जॉब का लोअर पर्पस है. वो सब आपके दिमाग का बैटल है. It doesn't absolutely matter. Netflix has a very strong purpose. He said that we makes life better. We make lives livelier, and entertainment is an important aspect of it. So Netflix has their own purpose, but no purpose comes without investment of time. My only urge to all the youngsters is that देखो मैं my उम्र is 37 years, ठीक है. मेरी जिंदगी 30 साल तक pretty much ordinary थी. My background's also ordinary. But after 30 years of my life, things started to change because I started realizing the first 10 years of being lost would result into the next 10 years of being found in one way or the other. So sometimes you have to wait for a very long time, continuously being on a hunt, understanding yourself, investing in yourself, or something to transcend into something beautiful. And before I hold on and I offer the place to uh, everyone's to everyone to ask questions, here is how my story culminates and how the 4 P's actually changed my life. I've in most interviews and most media releases, I'm often asked that, आप where does the talent come from, बचपन से लिखते आ रहे हो, बचपन से ही ऐसे थे. एक इंटरव्यू में एक जर्नलिस्ट ने मुझसे पूछा कि तो आप अपने बचपन के बारे में बताइए, वर यू ऑलवेज ब्रिलियंट, एंड आई गेट अ लिटिल एजिटेटेड व्हेन समबडी सेज दैट आप बचपन से ब्रिलियंट थे. व्हाई? बिकॉज वो अज्यूम करके चल रहा है कि मेरी मेहनत इज पार्ट ऑफ माई टैलेंट विच वॉज इनबॉर्न, एंड मैंने तो कुछ किया नहीं है. So I take pride in telling them that I was mediocre. I almost passed school. I couldn't get into a good college because I couldn't score great marks in school. I didn't graduate, postgraduate from a glamorous college, and I'm very proud of that feeling. The point I'm trying to make is that आपकी लाइफ में आपके स्ट्रगल का टाइम आप खुद डिसाइड कर सकते हो, बट वो स्ट्रगल आपको क्या देगी वो आप खुद डिसाइड नहीं कर सकते, उसका टाइम डिसाइड नहीं कर सकते. So for the first 25, 28 years of life was pretty ordinary, genuinely pretty ordinary. Still struggling to get a career, trying to somehow hold on to the job, making wrong decisions, getting into wrong relationships, still mediocre. Sense of achievement was lower than normal. When I was young, I had dyslexia, so I couldn't do much because I couldn't understand numbers. When I was in school, when I almost crossed school, I had epileptic attacks. So it kind of pulled me back, couldn't work out, couldn't swim, couldn't drink, couldn't smoke, all of that. सो 28 साल निकल गए, ठीक है, जहां तक बुरी खबर है, ठीक है. 28 साल के बाद सम डे यू रियलाइज दैट, या आप खुद अपने आप से पूछते हैं कि दोस्त अब करना क्या है. द डे यू स्टार्ट आस्किंग योर सेल्फ दैट क्वेश्चन, आपका दिमाग का लाइट बल्ब जलता है. जब जिंदगी जैसे चलती आ रही है वैसे ही चलने देना, या फिर यू वांट टू डू समथिंग अबाउट इट. एंड दैट्स द पॉइंट आई स्टार्टेड टू आस्क माई सेल्फ दैट करना क्या है. And slowly, that question becomes so loud and big that it makes you creative, it makes you innovative, it makes you risk taking, it makes you everything you wanted to be. But at some point of time, you got to ask yourself that question: Karna kya hai zindagi ka? You need to have that answer. So, in 28th year of my life, I ran my first half marathon. Okay. 29th, I did 3 marathons. 30th, I did 4 marathons. I did my fastest half marathon, which was under 2 hours, approximately 1:59, and absolutely at 2 mark, when I was 30. In 31st year of my life, I went back on stage and I started acting. I started a theater company because I loved theater, and I did 15 shows in a year. I wrote scripts. In 32nd year of my life, I started what is called as Aukhilain because I wanted to give it back. I wanted to ensure that I was doing something to express gratitude, and it's been running for 4 years. Uh, that continued, and since then it has continued. In 36th year of my life, I wrote my first book, which was in July 2019. I started writing the book, Lost and Found at 35. January 2020, the first book was published, and I'm not kidding. I'm writing my fifth book at this point of time, and I'm 37. So if you see, जो 15 साल से लेकर 30 साल तक जिस इंसान ने कुछ नहीं किया, वो 5 साल में ये सब हुआ. There is an NGO, there is a practice. I'm the youngest senior associate director in my organization. I sit on investigation committee, and all of that happened because it took me those 10 years to identify my zone of innovation, to become entrepreneurial in nature, to get the courage to start what I want to start. Most importantly, to get the courage to fail. Somebody asked me in an interview कि आपने कभी अपना नाम गूगल किया है, and मैंने उसको ये जवाब दिया दैट अगर 2012 में आप गूगल पे अंकित झाम लिखते तो कुछ नहीं आता, कोई मोटा नाटा गंजा इधर उधर रैंडम लोग आते, ठीक है. बट इफ यू राइट अंकित झाम ऑन गूगल, माय नेम कम्स अप, माय आर्टिकल्स कम्स अप, माय बुक्स कम्स अप. एंड समटाइम्स it takes a lot of time from 2012 to 2021, 9 years of not happening anything in any direction, and then something suddenly shoots up. My parting thought to all of you is that, one aspect of my book Lost and Found, if you read it, it talks about how flowers grow, and the growth of flowers, the blossoming of flowers is pretty much how we grow. देखो अभी एक फ्लावर होगा जो 2 दिन में उग जाएगा, लेकिन बैम्बू प्लांट होता है जो कई साल नहीं उगता है और एक रात में जमीन फाड़ के ऊपर निकलता है. देयर इज अ हिमालयन लिली जो 20 साल लेता है फूल बनने के लिए, और 20 साल तक एक बड रहता है. देयर इज अनदर सिमिलर फ्लावर विच इज कॉल्ड एज कुरिंजी, जो 25 साल के बाद फ्लावर बनता है. 25 साल तक वो सिर्फ स्ट्रगल करता है, धूप लेता है, पानी लेता है, मिट्टी लेता है. आप उम्मीद करते हो फ्लावर बनेगा, शायद नहीं बनेगा, शायद बीच में मर जाता है, ट्रैम्पल हो जाता है. बट इफ इट सर्वाइव्स 25 years, then after 25 years it becomes a beautiful flower. The point is very simple: passion, pursuit, process, and purpose. It's not a one night's game. You don't decide when you become what you want to become. You only decide to do what you want to do, and then you do it. That's my humble submission to all of you. I'm going to take a pause here and leave the next 10, 15, 20 minutes for any question, any thought. आप लोग मुझसे कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं, किसी भी तरीके का सवाल पूछ सकते हैं, and I I promise that I'll answer everything honestly and with authenticity. So go for it, guys.
All the participants are requested to kindly type their queries on the chat window.
I'll also send you guys, you can send me a LinkedIn invite for those who want to discuss certain things personally. I understand some people have sent me a message. Send me a LinkedIn invite and we'll connect offline. I'll be able to answer your questions. It might take time because of the schedule. Offices are just opening up, but happy to spend time with you otherwise as well. I think Yugant is saying that we'll have to unmute these people. So, is there a way we can unmute all of them, or we'll just have to go by names and unmute? Unmute.
Let me check, sir, please.
Yugant, in the meantime, let me try and unmute you. Okay, we have a question. So, I want to know, sir, how can I earn while studying? According to you, what is better, business or job? 1 second. Questions have started to come in. Yeah. Sir, I don't have any questions, but like all things you said, really loved your positive vibe. Thank you, thank you, thank you
Sir,
so much. Yes.
sir, you gone this side.
Hey, Yugant. Hey, yes.
How are you?
Very well, man. Very well. Thank you.
Sir, 1 minute, please. Sir, I will unmute in a minute.
Uh, while I'm trying to see all the questions. Okay. Ma'am, would you be able to navigate the questions for me? I think a lot of questions are pouring.
Yes, sir,
So
please.
I'd like to answer all of them.
Okay, sir, let me change the settings because earlier I have made the setting only for you. Only the host can see the questions.
So I can, acha, okay. Okay, then let me try and pick up all these questions one by one. Okay, so according to you, what is better, business or a job? So I'm hoping that I can call out you guys by your name, and it's not an anonymous question, because this question has come from Swarnim and it doesn't look like a confidential one. Swarnim, for me, actually, uh, the more important part is not business or a job. The more important part is how I'd like to function. I'd like to function in autonomy. I'd like to function where my thought process is respected. I'd like to function when I get the right kind of mentoring, coaching, and trust. If that is given to me in a job, I like job, which is why I'm doing a job, because I get all of that in a job. If that is given, if not given in a job, then I'd like to go for a business. But most importantly, when you're trying to go for a business or a job, you have to ask yourself, do you have the business acumen to run a business, go through the stress of business yourself? Do you have that stability and that service intent to work for somebody else, or to work in a larger setup? It's a very complicated question. Hence, I recommend people that if you want to mitigate all the risks, always start with a job for 3 to 5 years and 6 years. Invest time in a good organization, understand how the corporate culture is, and then if you have a business idea, then you float the idea. Even in cases where kids have business families, I still tell them that थोड़ा जाके बाहर की जिंदगी और बाहर की दुनिया देखो. उससे आपके अपने बिजनेस में you get a lot of benefit. So 6 to 7 years of job, I think, should be must. Like US, every individual has to go through some kind of a defense training. I think it should be mandatory for every individual who's passing out of a post graduation and graduation to get 5 to 6 years of experience, and only then you get to start something on your own. It humbles you down and it matures you as well. Harsh Gupta, how can I earn while studying? Harsh, if the question's coming from a monetary need, uh, if finances is not a problem, then don't earn while studying. It might sound conventional and orthodox, but don't. But if it's coming from a financial need and an appetite to have more money because you want to support family, well, then I would appreciate that. Digital marketing is a fantastic idea. Pick up a course, run digital marketing, you make good money. Content creation is a great idea, is a great field to make money. Okay. Uh, at this point of time, working with online tutorials organizations where you can impart education to people is a great idea. Those are great fields where money can come in, but make sure that you're balancing the act between your academic goals and your monetary goals. But don't quit studying, because otherwise it'll hit you when you become something. Because most good organizations want at least a stable organization, stable qualification. Ria Chaudhary, sir, I want to know that till 36 you have done nothing. I just want to know what thing burned fire inside you to do that. Ria, I think so. By 36, I could do something. By 36, I had written a book. By 30, when I was 30, I hadn't done much. Okay, and I've not had a past glamorous, glorious uh, report card as well. But the fact that you've been mediocre, itself is the fire sometimes to not to be mediocre. And the question is also not mediocre. The question is that what is that one thing which you love? What is it that you want to do so desperately that should get you sense of achievement, sense of satisfaction, fulfillment, sense of purpose? So you continuously trying to find that. It's like आप एक लॉस एक उसमें निकले हो, ट्रेजर हंट पे निकले हो, तो आप वो ट्रेजर को तब तक ढूंढते रहते हैं जब तक आपको कुछ मिल नहीं जाता, और जब मिल जाता है फिर भी आपकी खोज जारी रहती है. So that fire sensation is because you've been mediocre, a mediocre sense of achievement, but at the same time there is a voice in you which जो बोलती है कि यार नहीं, कुछ तो किया जा सकता है जिंदगी में, तुम ये करने तो नहीं आए हो. And that's the question which I've always had, तू करने क्या आया है, करना क्या चाहता है. And then at the back of the mind, you want to say that, boss, you got to set example. You got to live a life where when you die, your kids and people around you remember the legacy you've created. And I was very young, maybe 25, 26. I still used to feel that, boss, अगर मैं आज मर जाऊंगा तो क्या होगा, इससे कुछ नहीं होगा. And that's horrifying, that I haven't tried enough. And if you ask me the same question today, Ria, hand on the heart, I'll give you a better answer. If I die today, I'll die happy. I've tried. I've written 5 books. I did whatever I could. Sometimes I have a regret that I should have started saving early, or I should have started pursuing my hobbies and passions earlier. But that's a stupid question, because till the time you're not ready to do something, you're not ready to do something. But the answers have changed in the last 6 7 years. uh, so I hope that answers the question. How do you face failure? Because failure can demotivate us. So how can we overcome? Ariman, let me give you a very, very crisp answer to this. More than failure, I think mediocrity is the problem, because mediocrity sometimes blocks development. The problem with failure is, if failure in your mind is an emotional experience, अगर आप दिल से लगाते हैं, अगर आप उसमें disgust, disgruntled, लो कॉन्फिडेंस और जजमेंट डालते हैं, तो आप फेलियर से कुछ नहीं सीख सकते. ठीक है, देन इट्स टॉक्सिक, इट विल ईट यू अप फॉर श्योर. सो आस्क योरसेल्फ दैट, अगर आप फेल होते हो कि वो इमोशनल एक्सपीरियंस बन चुका है क्या, वो नासूर बन चुका है क्या, तो उसमें से हम नहीं निकाल सकते कुछ. बट इफ फेलियर इज सीन as a failure in an experiment which is being conducted in a laboratory, then you do exactly what you do in a laboratory. You go back again and you do the experiment again. You make notes, you make findings, and उसके बाद आप फिर से वही experiment करते रहते हैं till the time आपको crack नहीं मिल जाता. Over the last few years, I've learned to see my failures very differently. 2 दिन के लिए बुरा लगता है, खुद से शर्म आती है, लोगों से डर लगता है. एम्बैरेसमेंट भी होती है, बट 2 दिन के बाद मैं खुद को बोलता हूँ हो गया, ठीक है, अब तीसरे दिन इसको एक्सपेरिमेंट बनाओ, ये फेल हुआ क्यों, नेक्स्ट टाइम कैसे बेटर होगा. सी व्हेन यू कन्वर्ट योरसेल्फ psychologically into an experiment, then the word experiment itself gives you motivation कि एक और करके देखते हैं ना, एक और बार करके देखते हैं. You know, at some point of time I was 80 kilos. Uh, and at what some point of time, actually 24th 23rd December I was 80 kilos, right? uh, because of COVID, sitting at home, I'd lost my fitness, and I've been a very fit guy. Failure at this point of time, 4th January, I'm 76. 10 days strict dieting, working out every day, getting back to my routine, I've lost about 3 to 4 kgs. Okay, ये इतनी जल्दी कभी नहीं आया था. But the reason is because for the last 10 years, I must have failed my diet 10,000 times. And every time I failed my diet, I went back and I understood that ये fail क्यों हुई यार, क्या मैंने गलत खाया, क्यों टेम्पटेशन आती है, क्यों एडिक्शन आती है, क्यों चॉकलेट पसंद है, now why am I not able to leave it. As a result of all of those 10 failures, now I was able to crack it in one go. And that's all you can do to cope up with failures, और कुछ नहीं कर सकते आप. If it becomes a hawa in the head that I'm the person failing and I will never succeed and it's so horrible, मेरे से डाइट नहीं होती, मेरे से खाना नहीं छोड़ा जाता. And I'm just giving you a workout example because I'm assuming that in any generation, weight is the most constant battle you have to fight in life. And डिसिप्लिन का सबसे बड़ा टेस्ट डाइट और फिजिकल फिटनेस में होता है. जो इंसान फिजिकल फिटनेस और डाइट में डिसिप्लिन और फेलियर झेल लेता है, वो एक एथलीट के प्लेटफॉर्म पे जाता है, एंड देन ट्रांसफरिंग टू डील विद फेलियर्स इन अदर सेक्शंस ऑफ द लाइफ बिकम्स रिलेटिवली इजियर. So the first marathon failure, first diet failure, all of that, first theater failure, all of that made me a better person. That जब भी failure होता है तो एक बारी 2 दिन चिढ़ लो, रो लो, लोगों को गाली दे लो, गुस्सा कर लो, थर्ड डे आ जाओ वापस और पूछो like an athlete, like an scientist कि अब experiment fail क्यों हुआ. Okay, now we have another questions. So you worked in consulting firms. So what are the skills which you saw were required if someone needs to go into consulting? Great question, Pratham. I think one of the most important skills for consulting is the ability to talk. At a very simple level, your interpersonal skills in consulting are very, very important. The reason is because consulting has no product. So you can't really sell anything to a client. You can't take a mouse, laptop, mobile phone. You go to the client, you become the product, and the billing happens on per hour basis what you invest in the client. So for example, if I've invested 2 hours working with the college, then the billing and consulting equally will happening on how much quality did Ankit add to the client in those 2 hours. So then virtually, practically, I am the product. And when you are the product and you are able to present yourself, talk, you're not able to impress, articulate your thoughts, you have a problem because I don't get to trust you. So subject matter expertise is one, and the ability to be socially relevant and impressive, I think goes a long way, very long way. So if you want to get into consulting, get your communication skills sorted, and I can guarantee that you can get picked up. Yugant, you've been waiting. Go for it, man. Yugant, you want to ask your question? Should I unmute you once again? Yes. Okay. Sorry. I think I muted you. Ask to unmute.
Yes, sir.
Ah,
Sir,
yes,
I
Yugant.
was waiting for very long.
Go ahead.
Sir, the very first question I have that you were talking about entrepreneurship. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, the thing that you said that was, sir, exactly मैं बोल नहीं पा रहा, but जो आपने बीच में बोला था ना कि sir, people do not want to do 9 to 5 jobs.
Yeah.
Sir, I think sir, many Indians are still slaves. Sir, मम्मी पापा जो होते हैं ना, सर वो बस यही चाहते हैं कि ये 9 to 5 जॉब करे, बिजनेस वगैरह ना करे. ठीक. सर बहुत सारी चीजें थी सर, आपने बीच में सर अनम्यूट नहीं करने दिया. Sir, I was suffocating literally.
तो अभी निकाल ले, अभी बोल ले जितना बोलना है.
सर एक क्वेश्चन है मेरा.
हाँ
सर
बता बता.
सर जो क्वेश्चन है सर, एडिक्शन कैन ऑल्सो मेक बिजनेस.
Addiction can also make business. Addiction to what?
Sir, people are literally addicted to alcohol. They are addicted to Facebook also,
Yeah,
Instagram and social media. Or sir, example I will give you, sir, that Facebook is itself an example. Then we have ITC.
yeah,
ITC have the mightier shares in the
yeah.
in tobacco industry,
Tobacco. Yeah.
and it has hotels also. Sir, the thing that it is earning is from the tobacco industry. So, sir, I will say, sir, will you speak something on it?
So, can addiction be a business? Absolutely. Las Vegas is the biggest addiction. You go to US and you go to casinos. Addiction plays on the dopamines of the brain. Addiction leads to recurring habits, and it's absolutely a business. But the fact also is that Facebook wasn't created as an addiction or wasn't created to make us addict. We got addicted because of the lack of control we have. Facebook was a social networking community where people come together and they could connect with each other and good things could happen. Uh, ITC, I agree with the business model part of it, but they've never called themselves a cigarette company. I think they call themselves an agri farming company.
Yeah.
But in principle, I agree with you. Tobacco has been the biggest addiction, alcohol is the biggest addiction. The choice, the more important question युगांत here is that सही और गलत तुम्हारे मेरे लिए बहुत अलग अलग हो सकता है.
Yes,
लोग अपनी रोजगार भी वहां से कर रहे हैं. जहां से टोबैको सोर्स होता है वो किसानों से होता है, भला तो उनका भी हो रहा है. तुम 2 सिगरेट पीते हो 10 पीते हो वो तुम्हारी चॉइस है. सो द क्वेश्चन ऑफ मोरालिटी डजंट कम हियर टिल द टाइम इट्स इलीगल. ठीक है, टिल द टाइम इट्स अगेंस्ट द लॉज ऑफ द लैंड. बट एडिक्शन से बिजनेस निकल के आता है. That's for sure. Marketing is also addiction. Addiction, some point of time, advertising and addiction, social networking, it is addiction. But the fact is, addiction is not addiction is not why an organization should be born. Because इसलिए नहीं कि देखो लोगों को लत लगी है तो हम उस लत का फायदा उठाते हैं. And even if the organization is formed out of addiction, I'm telling you, it will not last because that addiction and that exploitation of addiction will clearly reflect into their behavior, system, process, marketing campaigns, and everything. And then people will see to it that the organization is not an organization having heart at the right place. So the formation of organization should still have a purpose. You know, even the alcohol companies have a strong CSR. They're not saying that we are killing people. They said that people kill themselves because you have to decide how much you have to drink,
yes, sir.
right? So the fundamental of business should not be exploiting addiction. Addiction is a consumer behavior. uh, Sometimes, you know, perfect example jo tu bol raha hai, Coke actually came out with a commercial saying that some of our, actually most of our products have sugar and also can cause cancer, and we are not particularly happy about it. We are changing how we do business, but it will take time for us, but we are conscious of it. So organizations which have had the heart in the right place have come out in the open and confessed that हमको पता है कि हमारी चीजें खराब हैं. And Coke was appreciated in the market, stock prices went up because that is exactly what the economy is expecting: authenticity and care towards people. मेरी बात समझ रहा है?
Yes, sir, I'm understanding. Sir,
Yeah.
what were the names of your books?
The first book is called Lost and Found at 35. I'll write it in the chat pod. It's called Lost and Found at 35. Sir has it. And in fact, the books have already been, some books have been sent to the college with Mr. Dr. Pandey, and we'll try and get some more. And the second book, which should be active on Amazon, is called Lights Please. Lights Please, Yogant, is actually on addiction, alcoholic addiction.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have seen your book that Lost and Found on Amazon.
Yes, it's there on Amazon. That's Lost and Found is on Amazon.
And sir, one thing you have said that लोगों का भला होगा in between the session while we were talking on entrepreneurship. Sir, are we doing the भला of the लोग, मतलब people का भला करने के लिए थोड़ी कर रहे हैं हम सर business. अगर हमें भला ही करना है तो सर हम NGO नहीं start करेंगे उसकी जगह पर.
Good question. Very good question. But here is a to the point answer. If a business is only doing bhala of the society and is not doing your bhala and bhala of people who have invested in your business, okay, then it's completely an NGO model. But at this point of time, new age business is society's welfare and your welfare and shareholders' welfare. That needs to get balanced, and that's the challenge which the industry is facing. 2010, 2005 is your bhala, okay, your employees ka bhala, and people who've invested in your market and your clients. The larger community does not bothered, is not bothered. But at this point of time, if there is an additional element of stronger purpose and responsibility, नाउ जरूरी नहीं है कि तुम जो बेच रहे हो वो उसमें या तुम्हारे बिजनेस मॉडल में लोगों का भला हो. गिविंग जॉब्स टू वॉर विडोज, गिविंग जॉब्स टू LGBTQI community, giving jobs to war veterans, giving jobs to physically handicapped and specially abled, that's also bhala, and that's the expectation which is being there by the business that create opportunities for everyone. Some organizations now they're trying to gender balance even their vendors. So if my organization has to work with 5 distributors, we also check that ये 5 distributors में gender balance है कि नहीं, मेल फीमेल रेशियो बैलेंस है कि नहीं. वो भी एक तरीके का भला है. जरूरी नहीं है कि हर एक चीज के भले की डेफिनेशन गरीबों को खिलाना हो या फ्लाईओवर बनाना हो या देश निर्माण करना हो. एब्सोल्युटली नॉट. The point is be socially relevant and socially sensitive in your business model. You get my point? Yugant कहाँ चला गया? Anyways, let me once while he comes back. You there, Yugant?
Yes, sir, I am there. Sir, you muted me.
अरे वो ऑटोमेटिकली हो जाता है आई थिंक यार. हाँ. Okay, so let me pick a few questions, and then maybe if time permits we'll come back. Otherwise I'll give you my number. You and I will definitely have a chat as much as you want to know. Okay, so Sarthak, actually, sir, I was wanting to ask you that if we have to follow our purpose and we are trying to go further on it, but when our parents stop us from doing that just because they believe that it isn't that good for a career, what should we do, sir? Uh, Sarthak, it's a very difficult spot to be in. There are two views to this. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, is my purpose coming with the plan of action and clear line of visibility? Sometimes parents don't agree with the idea psychologically because they don't see visibility. But when you invest in planning, that मैं पहले साल में ये करूंगा, दूसरे साल में ये करूंगा, उससे ये ट्रांसलेट करूंगा, यहाँ से पैसा आएगा. If you've been responsible enough, like an entrepreneur, ऐसा सोच कि तू एक स्टार्टअप चलाता है और तू प्राइवेट इक्विटी प्लेयर्स को एक पिच देने जा रहा है फंडिंग जनरेट करने के लिए. समटाइम्स यू हैव टू स्पीक टू द पेरेंट्स एंड टेल देम, गिव देम द कॉन्फिडेंस कि वो कर सकते हो. ओके. Second option is try and see if there is a middle path. Try and see can you blend both. Try and see can you buy some time, experiment, learn some experiences. Okay, those are difficult. Those are few ways. Sometimes if you are too clear and if you know and आपको you're able to validate that inner voice, and that's the dicey part. The validation of inner voice क्या है वो तुम्हारा पर्सनल कॉल है. गुस्से में नहीं, जोश में नहीं, अग्रेशन में नहीं, बट शांति से, क्लैरिटी से, फोकस से. इफ यू हैव द आंसर्स ऑफ योर बिजनेस एंड यू थिंक that you can go through it, take the risk, then you might have to pick a battle. And that battle is not disrespectful. The battle is sometimes to pay the cost of your dreams. And you have to convince them one way or the other. And you might have to do something keeping their disagreements in respect and in check. ये एक नजरिया है जिंदगी को देखने का. दूसरा नजरिया मेरा जिंदगी को देखने का जो मैं सेकंड वे जरूर लूंगा. Figure out why are your parents trying to convince you for a good career in something else. Maybe they are hunting for predictability. Maybe they are wanting to push you into the right direction, which according to them will reduce the risk of life. Okay. Whatever they are saying, पहले खुद से ये पूछो कि वो जो भी करियर है क्या मैं वो कर सकता हूँ कि नहीं. करना चाहता हूँ is different. तुम्हारा मन क्या कहता है, तुम्हारी इच्छाएं, wishes, likes, dislikes, they are different. Do you have the strength, the skill, and the aptitude and the intellect to do it? Right? If you have, then might as well do it because it could be a great plan B. Okay. Now here is an example. I was doing chartered accountancy because my father wanted me to be a chartered accountant. I was horrible at being chartered accountant, so I opted out of it. I wanted to do psychology, but my father didn't want to do psychology. But I, anyways, did it. I fought the battle hard. First example. But then after psychology, actually before psychology, I wanted to be an actor. So I filled NSD के forms, but my dad said that नहीं, तू NSD नहीं करेगा, तू कुछ और कर ले. कितने सारे लोग पैसा नहीं कमा पाते, 15 साल स्ट्रगल करते रहेगा. वी डोंट वांट दैट काइंड ऑफ लाइफ यू. आई फेल्ट दैट देयर इज मे बी सेंस इन दैट. ओके, अब मुझे बॉलीवुड में नहीं जाना था, मुझे एक्टिंग करनी थी. तो मैंने 10 साल वेट किया, 32 साल में जाके मैंने एक्टिंग करी. ओके, समटाइम्स यू हैव टू वेट, पोस्टपोन, defer your dreams for an appropriate time, build yourself up, and then come back to it. But all of this is your battle to fight. I can help you in that, but decisions will have to be taken by your own sensibilities, and you will have to see for yourself कि अब जिंदगी को मैनेज कैसे करना है. ये अभी पागलों की तरह परस्यू करना है, और लेट मी पार्क इट एंड देन कम बैक टू इट एंड देन बिकम मोर स्टेबल एंड देन डू इट. Both forms of the game actually work. In both the cases, मेरी एक advice ये रहेगी, whatever your dream or a passion is, don't let it die. किसी के मना कर देने से, तुम्हारे किसी और के बताया हुआ करियर परस्यू कर लेने से, कोई डिग्री ले लेने से, वो ड्रीम या कोई भी पैशन, कोई भी इंटरेस्ट मरता नहीं है. वो पार्किंग लॉट में जाता है, और पार्किंग लॉट से चीजें वापस आती हैं. ग्रेवयार्ड में नहीं जाना चाहिए बस. We all want to follow our passion, but there is a hesitation and a thought of failure, how to overcome that fear, as we know well that failure is a part of life, but we're unable to take that initiative. Ishan, that's the entire magic of enterprising. Sometimes when you want to follow a passion, and if the passion asks you to give big sacrifices, the fear of failure will be also huge. So I tell people that छोटे attempts करो, uh, daily basis attempts करो, reduce the risk in life, do the mock runs before playing a big match. Do mock practices and do net practices like in cricket. The fear of failure significantly reduces with predictability. जब छोटे छोटे points पे you start doing well, take those smaller risks in life where the judgment is less. Our problem is that अगर तुम बोलो कि मैं किसी से कल 5 करोड़ रुपए उधार लेके नौकरी शुरू बिजनेस शुरू करूंगा, obviously the fear of failure is going to be stupendously high. But you start, that's the entire business acumen. How do I reduce my risks? What are my risks? How do I create a plan B so that there is more comfort in life, and then bring all of it together. Fear of failure needs to be tackled by understanding what is the risk. अगर रिस्क सिर्फ रेपुटेशन का है कि लोग मेरे बारे में क्या बोलेंगे, देख वो तो तेरे को सारी जिंदगी यू विल हैव टू डील विद दैट. मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ उससे दोस्ती कर लो. Every time people have told me, Ankit, you cannot write a book, you can't go on stage, I knew it there in my head now, so I will definitely do it. But at the same point of time, material risks, loss of money, loss of relationships, loss of career, loss of a job, those have to be mitigated. So make a list of risks, mitigate them, start something small and build it up. Starting small is the biggest blessing you will ever receive from anyone, because the most important and the critical problem is हम सबको जिंदगी धमाके से शुरू करनी है. छोटे छोटे स्टेप से हम नहीं शुरू करना चाहते हैं. So people who start small, they are actually happier, more fulfilling, and they are less fearful. सर मुझे मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर और अ गुड लीडर बनना है सर, इसलिए गिव मी सम एडवाइस. मोहम्मद अमन, if the two advice I'd like to give you is motivational speaker. If you really want to be a person who wants to inspire, then number one, start fighting your own inner demons and your battles. जो इंसान is willing to inspire others, the person himself should have fought his own battles, which means his own self awareness, his own regulation on in his own behavior. He should have first set an example in his own eye to some extent that, okay, I fought my own battles. There is no motivation without fighting your own battles. Second, my personal way to inspire people is to be able to give them multitude of perspective. अगर मैं किसी को रिलीजियस व्यू पॉइंट दे सकता हूँ, स्पिरिचुअल व्यू पॉइंट दे सकता हूँ, साइकोलॉजिकल व्यू पॉइंट दे सकता हूँ, स्पिरिचुअल व्यू पॉइंट दे सकता हूँ, क्लिनिकल व्यू पॉइंट दे सकता हूँ, तो उसको मैं वर्ल्ड व्यू दे सकता हूँ. और एज ए मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर मैं अपने सर पे गारंटी लेके नहीं चलता हूँ किसी की जिंदगी बदलूंगा, मैं गारंटी लेके चलता हूँ कि मैं सिर्फ इंफॉर्मेशन दूंगा एक अच्छे तरीके से जो दिल या दिमाग तक पहुंचेगी। बट उसके लिए मेरा दिल और दिमाग सिंक में होना चाहिए, विच इज मी फाइटिंग माई ओन बैटल्स एंड देन reading and researching so much that you're able to transmit that information to people most effectively, which causes some form of inspiration. I hope that answers the question. How can we stay motivated after facing failures? I think we spoke about this. So, in today's life, where most people have been left out from the jobs, how can they gain uh, moral to run their own business? See, if you've lost a job, if you do not have a job, uh, my first recommendation will be that please ask yourself, have you taken the loss of the job personally? The moral goes down जब आपके दिमाग में एक आवाज है जो वो आपको बोलती है तेरे बस की नहीं है, तू नहीं कर सकता, बिजनेस नहीं कर पाएगा, देख नौकरी भी चली गई. The question will not be business. The question will be fighting these voices. If the voice in the brain is अच्छा हुआ नौकरी चली गई, मैं अब बिजनेस करूंगा, तो आपको मॉरल की कमी नहीं है ना. मॉरल डाउन इसलिए होता है because there is a voice in the head which starts bothering you. So fight that voice and convert that voice into more constructive voice. If there is an insecurity, a lack of self-esteem, which the shit has hit the fan and you're looking at it, then you've got to deal with it. Once you deal with it, you will get the morale in the business. So, what should be the strategy if we are taking a risk for starting a new business? How can we make backup plan for future if we face failure? Bhavna Sharma, 2 points I'll try and give you because I use them. First is if you're starting a business and you have no source of income, then you need to have a buffer for at least 6 months to 8 months to feed yourself, family, and feed your business. हमेशा ये मान के चलो कि पहले 6 से 8 महीने मे बी एक साल कोई कमाई नहीं होगी, कॉस्ट होगी. दैट कॉस्ट नीड्स टू बी कैलकुलेटेड. उस कैलकुलेशन के ऊपर 20-25% बफर डालो एंड उतना मनी आपके पास होना चाहिए. Plus, that money should not be the money which is kept dear to your heart. That money should be the money you can easily lose in the market without even losing your sleep. If you don't have these conditions, there is going to be a problem because that's exactly where people get stressed. इंसान जब अपनी जिंदगी की जमा पूंजी जो उसने अपने मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट के लिए, फैमिली के ध्यान के लिए या अपनी सेविंग्स के लिए बिजनेस में लगा देता है, that's not the kind of money which you are okay losing. So you need to at least first get to a point, ask for money which somebody is okay losing, which means that if it doesn't come back, you don't have the risk, you don't have the stress. But it doesn't mean that it does not come back. But starting with the sacred working capital, and I call it sacred working capital because वो पैसा जो आपकी जिंदगी का operations चला रहा है, वो पैसा आपका business नहीं चला सकता. That's number one. And number two, make sure that the first risk or the first step you take is really small. It could be one customer, it could be one client. In fact, your challenge, Bhavna, should be when you're doing business planning, try and think, can there be a zero cost business model? देखो हर एक बिजनेस का एक जीरो कॉस्ट बिजनेस मॉडल होता है, हम वो निकालते नहीं हैं क्योंकि कॉस्ट बिजनेस मॉडल आसान होता है, विच मीन्स कि हमको 25 लाख रुपए चाहिए, 10 लाख चाहिए, 5 लाख चाहिए, 10 whatever we need. But think and come down to a level and give yourself a challenge कि मेरा zero cost business model क्या है. That is the risk free business model. I have an idea and I'm a little bit uh, doing it, practicing it every day, but I'm not able to give more time to it and to study. I'm wasting time somehow कि ये तो हो जाएगा sir, how can I change this attitude? Priyanshu, if you're saying that if you have an idea and if you're not giving time to that idea, let me give you a simple trick. The simple trick is the law of small numbers. All you have to do is tell yourself कि जो भी तेरा idea है उस पर तेरे को सिर्फ 60 seconds काम करना है आज. And trust me, this works. The law of small numbers doesn't buy the procrastination. ये जो dilly dallying ढीलापन दिमाग दिखाता है, तुम्हें सिर्फ 60 seconds, भले ही तुम नोटबुक पे वो आइडिया लिख के छोड़ दो, तुम्हारा आज का काम खत्म. Tomorrow you have to increase 10% of that 60 seconds. 66 seconds करना है. उसके बाद 10% और increase कर दे. It's a great psychological technique to build habits where you start with so small that 60 सेकंड के लिए तुझे क्या प्लानिंग की जरूरत है, 60 सेकंड के लिए क्या टाइम वेस्ट है, 60 सेकंड तो दिन में कभी भी निकाल सकते हो. Once you immerse into the idea and you start enjoying it, you'll realize discipline comes automatically. So such so small that your mind doesn't interfere into it. ये ट्राई करना और मुझे बताना. दिस इज हाउ आई स्टार्टेड टू राइट कि एक वर्ड लिख, एक लाइन लिख. वो एक लाइन कब 1,000 वर्ड्स बनते हैं आपको रियलाइज भी नहीं होता. Niket, if you type Ankit Jham on LinkedIn, it'll throw up similar face. And I think Ankit Jham is the LinkedIn ID. I'm sorry, bad with the handles. But throw my name on Google or LinkedIn and it'll throw my name. So I'm searching about direct selling for a few days. I saw that IAS Amitabh Kant has told to do direct selling for removing unemployment. Please tell about this industry. uh, Web of Single, I will have to read about Amitabh Kant's direct selling. So if you have a context to this, you can write it and then I'll share my view. But I have not followed the direct selling for a few days. I'm not too sure which model is he talking about, because in various forms of government they're trying to reduce middleman dependencies, and they're trying to connect the producer with the user directly. So which industry was he talking about? Typically, Amitabh Kant is a tourism guy because he was heavily invested in Goa tourism. Uh, so I'm not too sure if he's coming from that industry. We face a lot of problems in our life and we lose spark. We try and try and try, but how can we keep our pace during balancing everything in my life, like family, study? Uh, Anand, this is going to be a constant battle. It's still a battle for me. The more you want to do, the more you try and achieve, the more you want to reinvent, the larger the challenge of balancing yourself and commitments will be. Two to three things, uh, which I'll try and give you as a recommendation, जो मेरे लिए काम की हैं. Eat well, okay? Be physically fit, because if these two things are not going right, something like an acidity and a gastric intact also messes up with your focus. So I try and eat well. I try and be physically fit. If you have to do five things, I have to run an NGO, write books, do work, spend time with family. अगर पांच चीजें जिंदगी में हर दिन आपका टाइम लेंगी तो आपकी बॉडी को बेसिकली 15 घंटे सर्वाइव करना है. एंड अगर 10 घंटे बाद आपकी बॉडी बोल जाती है एंड इट शट्स डाउन, देन यू विल हैव टू कॉम्प्रोमाइज ऑन आइदर फैमिली, हॉबी, पैशन, व्हाटसोएवर. सो योर एंड्योरेंस लेवल ऑफ द बॉडी हैज टू बी वेरी स्ट्रांग, एंड वो अभी से बिल्ड करना शुरू करेगा. Eating well and physically fit, then you'll realize that you're able to do more, consume more, take more stress. And third, most importantly, be aware of distractions in life. Frequent phone calls, irrelevant social circle, Facebook, Netflix, everything is important, but don't let it interfere. ये तीन रूल अगर अभी से बिल्डअप कर देगा, मैंने नहीं किए थे, पिछले 7 साल में किए हैं. Hence the result has also come. What you get is a compounded benefit. What is compounded benefit? एक सिंपल इंटरेस्ट होता है, कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट होता है. आपको कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट मिलता है क्योंकि आप कम समय में ज्यादा कर पाते हो. तो ये तीन चीजों को अभी से करना शुरू कर दे. Okay, sir, what do you think about the network marketing? Should students join network marketing? Sarthak Srivastav, I'll give you my viewpoint. No hard feelings. I'm not in favor of network marketing. It's not a stable industry. It sucks people in. Not everyone is able to make money out of it. They sell bad dreams to people. They sell big dreams to people. Stability is very important in this kind of an economy where jobs are scarce. Businesses are struggling. Network marketing also requires capital, which you might or might not recover. So if you have money to lose and experiment, go for it. If you don't, then don't go for it. Thank you, Anand. So I want to know what's your book's name? Lost and Found at 35 and Lights, Please. Sir, how do you manage in the starting after setup? Because in the starting, there is no resource with you, and even the society start judgment. How do you cope up? See, in one way or the other, if in the starting you don't have a resource, it's better, because no cost model at times asks you to do everything. आपको हर चीज के लिए resource नहीं जरूरत होती. When I started my NGO, I had no resource, but in about 2 months, 3 months, I got volunteers. Uh, the question is that the think in the direction that your dependencies outside your own mind are least, and that's how you start. That's exactly zero cost, zero dependency business model. And then when you expand, or you're finding it difficult, or your energies are not going into the right direction, that ye kaam mere ko nahi karna hai. Like when my NGO expanded, I wanted someone to take care of finance reconciliations, ki kiska paisa kahan se aaya hai, right? So then I opted for help, because that's not the direction I want to invest. I want to optimize costs, I want to identify pockets, do diligence of cases. But kiska paisa kahan se aaya, it's an accountant's job. So that help, then I had to ask for someone. In a business, get to a point where you think that यार मेरा focus ना सही जगह पे नहीं लग पा रहा है, because मैं गलत जगह पे focus लगा रहा हूँ, then you need help. So what are best kept secrets about startup? uh, Best kept secrets are: everyone makes money, everyone gets funding, but the reality is not everyone makes money, not everyone gets funding, and all startups are brilliant people. No, some startups guys are foolish. I'm sorry to say, but excited, infatuated people don't run businesses. Purposeful, resilient, and disciplined people run businesses. Ab wo startup ho ya Ratan Tata ho, that personality trait has to be everywhere. So behind every successful man, there is a woman. Is it true? Absolutely, it is true. I have three in my life: my mother, my wife, and my daughter. It's never possible to do something without the support of your family. लॉजिकल है ना, अगर मैं अपनी शादी से ना खुश हूँ, ना अपने घर में खुश नहीं हूँ, तो मेरा दिमाग ही नहीं चलेगा, बिकॉज कॉन्स्टेंटली आई एम थिंकिंग अबाउट वरीज ऑफ माई फैमिलीज एंड issues. But only if I have a stable family, I can think in different directions. Addiction is for us as business, for others. We spoke about this. I'm just going through all the questions. So many questions have come. Ma'am, if it's possible, you can send me all the questions and I will answer all of them. But I'm just going to quickly skim through the questions. So my question is, do I have to do good in every subject I study, or should I focus on that subject I'm good in? uh, Akshay Kumar, क्या नाम है तेरा? Akshay Kumar. My answer to this is that, देखिए ये मेरा व्यू पॉइंट है, एंड डॉक्टर पांडे माइट नॉट लाइक थ्रू दिस, इसलिए मैं हाथ जोड़ के पहले सॉरी बोल रहा हूँ. बट make sure that you pass through all the subjects, number one rule, because failing is operational creative hassle. बार बार वही एग्जाम देना है अपने को, वो टेंशन नहीं चाहिए लाइफ में. सो पहले है कि सब में पास करो. सेकंड है, आइडेंटिफाई सब्जेक्ट्स विच यू लाइक. तुम उसमें 90 स्कोर करते हो, 60 स्कोर करते हो, वो मेरे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. तुम उसमें मास्टरी लेते हो, उसके बारे में पढ़ते हो, उसमें से उसको अपनी जिंदगी में ढालते हो, वो इंपॉर्टेंट है. मुझे साइकोलॉजी पसंद था मेरे, लेकिन मास्टर्स इन साइकोलॉजी में आई बेयरली हैड 55-65%. ओके, बट I was good with psychology, and I didn't need to be a topper to be a psychologist. I just wanted to love the subject. So don't confuse the love of the subject with the marks you score. Yes, marks are important. If there is a grading point, and if you get jobs and placements basis that grading point, please comply and please go for it. But gold medalist in my batch, they couldn't debate on psychology with me. वो नहीं कर पाए. क्यों? क्योंकि उन्होंने किताबें पढ़ी रटने के लिए, 90% लाने के लिए. लेकिन जब टेबल पे बैठ के रियलिटी की हम बात करते थे, तो they were not able to hold a discussion with me, and that was my USP, because मैं psychology पीता था, मैं पढ़ता नहीं था. So when you talk about subject and your liking, you have to drink that subject, not read that subject, and there's a difference in both. I hope that answers. What risks and sacrifices does an entrepreneur should do his or her startup should do to his or her startup? See, risk we've spoken about. There's financial risk, there is risk of failing, there is risk of answering family, regulators, government system, especially in India, systems and process and bureaucracy and politics. You will have to go through it, all of it. However, Modi ji is making it simple. Sacrifices is going to be a comfortable 9 to 5 predictable life. कि एक नौकरी करते तो आपको 50-70 लाख, 2 लाख, 3 लाख हर महीने आता, आपकी जिंदगी स्टेबल चलती, आप ज़्यादा हॉलीडेज ले पाते स्टार्टिंग में, बट और आपकी जिंदगी में प्रिडिक्टेबिलिटी रहती. दैट्स द बिगेस्ट sacrifice. Sometimes the risk sacrifice also has to be a family sacrifice, which is why I tell people that if you're starting up your own business, please consider that your your family is also starting that business, because your stress, your pressure, your vulnerability, the costs will be paid by the family. And if your wife, your husband, your parents are not willing to take that cost, then will you be able to consume that cost yourself? पूरा एक परिवार एक जैसे अगर मैं नौकरी चेंज करता हूँ या मैं ऑथर बनता हूँ, तो मेरे साथ मेरा पूरा परिवार ऑथर बनता है। मैं नौकरी बदलता हूँ तो पूरा परिवार नौकरी बदलता है। क्यों? क्योंकि कल को नौकरी ठीक नहीं रही तो पूरे परिवार को कॉस्ट पे करना पड़ेगा। सो व्हेन यू आर डूइंग अ स्टार्टअप, अप्लाई एग्जैक्टली दैट लॉजिक। ओके, 77 क्वेश्चंस हैव कम। ओह गॉड, मैं बिल्कुल नीचे से उठाता हूँ क्वेश्चंस। सो डू यू थिंक दैट द ट्रिपल और क्वेश्चन आ गया। So what does incubators do, to be very specific? At what stage does a startup no, or a question again? Just start. At what stage does a startup knocks the doors of incubators? See, incubators incubate new ideas, help people start something new, and वहाँ से फिर startups निकल कर आते हैं when an idea becomes into a structure, business model, valuation, proposal, revenue. So you incubate something. It's like आपने किसी चीज को, आपने केक को ओवन में डाला, ओवन में डालते ही वो केक बेक हुआ, वो सर्व करने लायक हुआ। वो सर्व करने लायक जब हो जाता है तो हम उसको फंडिंग के लिए ले जाते हैं, उससे पहले हम उसका टेस्ट रन करते हैं। That's how incubation works. Sir, our family doesn't support us what we are doing, and we don't have anyone to support them. We sometimes get so depressed how to tackle that. Himlata, sometimes you have to be patient. Like I said, that nurture your dreams, park your dreams. Sometimes the way we deal with our families is incorrect. Sometimes we don't know how to negotiate. Sometimes we run from difficult conversations. Every time the family doesn't support, I personally feel it's more of a communication issue than actually a real issue. If kids and parents are able to talk transparently and they're able to invest in communication, uh, then I think there will be less problems. In my experience, whenever people have had the courage to talk nicely and respectfully and understand the other person's viewpoint, solutions have come. If they haven't, then you wait for your time. And it's not philosophical. सबका समय आता है.
Sir, I like we all are aware that you are already engaged with so many other activities. So please take the questions accordingly, and I'll request the students again to wait for your next session. So
Yes.
please
So I'm
take the
going to take.
students, take the questions
Yes,
accordingly.
yeah, I'm going to take one last question because I'm going to call exactly at 1 o'clock. But send me the questions on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I'll try my level best to answer. If you want to talk, then we'll set up a time. It will take time, but I'll give you some time for sure. So the last question I'm going to take is I want to travel whole world and create videos about everything. I will एक क्वेश्चन आता है, मैं पढ़ता हूँ, वो दूसरा अच्छा है। प्रथम ने हीलिक्स वाला क्वेश्चन काफी बार पूछना चाहा है, पहले मैं ये वाला क्वेश्चन ले लेता हूँ। So do you think that the triple helix model will help in increasing entrepreneurship in future, especially for women? प्रथम, honest to God, I have no idea what triple helix model is. तो ये पहले तो तू मुझे ही बता दे कि triple helix model क्या है. But what I want to comment on is that the next 10 years you will see a rise in women entrepreneurs because non-banking financial corporations and banking financial corporations and organizations are trying to give opportunities to women entrepreneurs. The ecosystem and the countries, specifically India, the environment is changing, and sometimes uh, uh, the startups and the funding agencies also ask that why don't you have a woman on board, because we'd like to have more balance. Triple helix of innovation refers to set of interactions between academia, industry, government to foster economic development. Absolutely, now I get it. Yes, see, it has started to happen already. There are industry bodies at BRICS. This is exactly what we are doing. We are trying to work with colleges, give them the right kind of know-how, produce entrepreneurs, and make them meet to the industry experts. So that exactly is what you're referring to the helix model. Can we make future in videopreneur through YouTube, WebHub? Of course you can, but remember, have a plan B, plan C. That space is extremely competitive. Attention span is dipping. You can't put all eggs in one basket. Yes, yes, Aman. I want to travel whole world and create videos about everything I saw, but I don't have money to travel. See, Aman, if I was you, I would just remove the world. Uh, Most photographers who've done well and who've not had money, and I know one such person. He told me this, that मैं कई साल ये सोचता रहा कि my beauty lies elsewhere and I have to travel the whole world. But then I realized that if all I want to do is click photographs, then I'll start clicking photographs right from where I am. And that's probably your answer. To get to travel the whole world, you would need a job, you would need finances. But to get to make movies, you don't need anything. You just need a mobile phone and a vision of creativity to bring out simplicity from the most ordinariness and to bring out extraordinariness from the most ordinary thing. Ask the wildlife photographers, ask the food photographers, ask the animal photographers. सड़क के कुत्ते की भी एक अच्छी फोटोग्राफ बना के भेज सकते हैं, उसके लिए उनको एक चूहा हुआ जो ₹1,00,000 का आता है डॉग, उसको फोटो खींचने की जरूरत नहीं है. Now that is philosophical, but that is also uplifting because the idea that boss, the video can happen today, and my condition that I want to travel the whole world and make video is a null and void condition. I will start making videos at this point of time, get the right kind of skill, pursue it with discipline, और जब दुनिया के बाहर जाके बनाने का मौका आएगा, I will be ready by then. उस तरीके से सोच and you will proceed faster. That's what I did. That's how I learned acting. That's how I learned movie making. Okay, so एक बजने वाला है. Uh, Thank you so much, everyone. This has been a wonderful audience. So many people had joined. We still have 277 people. And yes, Tanushka, I also eagerly wait for the next session. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Pandey. Can't thank you enough. We'll try and send you more books. 100 books have already been sent. I also want to make a note that whatever the book earns, the money goes into charity. And every time you buy my book,
Thank you,
you
sir.
contribute to charity.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, go ahead. Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, go ahead. बोलिए बोलिए.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your precious time and the way you have like responded all. You have tried to respond all the questions, and thank you for telling us the importance of time. And well said, sir. That when passion dies, you cry. So pursue with the idea, turn that idea into reality on time. You also told us about the process with the real examples, and very well said, sir. That learn the trick to crack. So, on behalf of my institute, my sincere gratitude to you for accepting our request and spent your valuable time with students. I hope that your experience will definitely will help the student to excel in their life. And I would like to present you a memento as a token of gratitude.
Thank you so much.
So this is and my thank is also there for the respected director sir, respected vice principal ma'am, co-chairperson, coordinators, faculty colleagues, and the dear students. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a very good day.
Pleasure,
Have a
sir.
great year. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you
Bye.
so much.